About this one. Welcome to Bogside Chats, where we're talking everything Defikingdoms and keeping it casual. My name is Matty Pesk. As always, I am joined by Franz and Guy Kid. Boys, how are we doing?
Doing great. Excited to get started. Special one tonight.
Keeping the intro short because excited to jump into this one.
Yes, as you can tell, we are joined by a very special guest. I am very, very excited. He took time out of his day to talk to us. The president of Kingdom Studios, Dreamer, is here with us. Dreamer, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here, and I'm just excited to be able to speak. Man, the last couple of months I've had a rough go. Was in cold areas for holidays and got the vid. Pretty sure I got the RSV, whatever they're referring to it after that.
Tough.
And it just brought my childhood asthma to life, and it's been horrible, like a few hours a day of being awake, kind of horrible. But I'm speaking normally and want to go work out and everything. So I'm stoked to be here on my first day mentally back without all the brain fog.
Amazing. Well, that is, I have a couple boring intro questions. Well, I shouldn't say boring, but boring intro questions. But one of the first ones. One of the first ones is, how is training going? The Karate Combat event is less than a month now away. How are you feeling physically? How's it going?
Bad.
Okay, great. Wow.
Because first
Place
of all,
your bets, everybody.
Training has been pretty non-existent. I mean, the timing of everything is pretty hard. And then a lot of people doing the IFC stuff, their main goal is, some people have non-Web3 jobs, and then they do influencer stuff in their spare time. Then they're always just at the gym. Other people are all in Web3 influencer stuff. So the gym, it's just adding content. I'm using a few hours a week to find and replace surfing or something else active to just get back into martial arts. And that's been timed with Thanksgiving, my birthday, Christmas, New Year's, getting sick, Vegas, Miami. So training's pretty bad, but I was feeling better, and I did try to go to a practice or training last night. And there's the whole competitive team here. They all got fights coming up. So I expressed that I'm I'm going to be here probably 5 times a week now. I have a date. I think that date is February 23rd.
Mark your calendars. Yeah.
I don't know if things are public, so I might get in trouble.
Wow, alpha already. Alpha in the first 2 minutes. Excellent.
I hear that the event is not going to be in Dominican Republic anymore, that it's going to be somewhere in Mexico. So maybe I won't get in trouble if I just say that much. But altitude will be a factor. And so anyway, I was at practice yesterday and with everybody else, and they've been, they compete frequently. And so at the end of practice, they did what is called, I think, shark pit. I don't know what they called it. And that's where it's 5 rounds, 1 minute each, no rest, and a new person every minute. And I haven't sparred really for 18 years or something. Yeah. So they just beat the crap out of me one by one. And they videoed it and everything. And I thought I did much worse than I did. I went and watched the video, and I'm like, oh, dang, I landed some good shots. But by the 5th round, the 5th person, they were coming in at 100%.
Right.
It's
5 minutes of fighting nonstop is just exhausting.
Yeah, and that's what it's meant to do. It's meant to get you to that point of exhaustion and see how you perform. And you don't really get used to the person because, one guy was 230 pounds. I was going against. Another guy was 170. Another guy's 6'2". Another guy's 5'10". So it's really good. And at the end, they're like, wow, they really threw you right in it. And I'm like, yeah, well, this is why I'm here. It's not just to tap bags. I can do that on my own. I've been punching bags, for exercise my whole life, but that really isn't the same as standing in front of somebody else punching you in the face. So
that is wild. And I do have to say, and I know, we've said often, we want Dreamer to be fighting for DFK. We say that kind of often, but we didn't mean physically you have to fight for DFK. It's okay. You don't need to put yourself in harm for us. We get it, right?
Well, luckily I'm fighting somebody that I think is a very respectable person in the space, and also my friend. He is,
that helps.
dangerous. I'm not trying to say he's not, but some people are going to go in there
Right.
and treat it like I want to hurt somebody. I think both of our goals is to go in there, make it entertaining, have it be a real fight, and hopefully not hurt each other. You can't really control that. You can't really hold back, but it's a different kind of mindset. Also, with all the names that are on there, I do think a fair amount of people will see this. So having some additional exposure for DFK will be good. But the broad ongoing partnership with Karate Combat, I think, is one of the major wins by doing this.
Totally. The geese are like one of the coolest. I'm gonna say it wrong. Massages.
Vizzies.
This
is just when we started. I was like, can we just call them skins? And like
Yeah.
the game committee was like, guys, part of the identity of the game is creating unique things to it. Like people get used to it. So I was like Visages, Visages, and Vizzies. Now it just comes pretty naturally because we've been talking about it longer than you guys have seen it out.
Right.
But I actually like it. I go and play other games and I see like Glimmer or Glamour or I'm trying to think of other things people refer to it as. And I'm just glad that we made it our own. I like Vizzies. I don't think, is it Hubert? Hubert might not like Vizzies, or maybe it's second best dad. But nobody likes Visages. I don't think we're going to call it Visage. It's either Visages or Vizzies.
Yeah. Well, I got a whole bunch. I have a million topics that I'm probably not gonna get to all of them, but we'll get back to Vizzies.
You'll have to dom me because I tend to talk a lot. If
it's all good. Yeah,
I probably won't give you a half-ass answer. I'll probably give you way more, avoiding alpha. So just like sign.
Get to the point where
we started this.
What
we
was
started
the
this
original
whole
question,
podcast.
anyways? Yeah,
I know. We started this whole podcast because we were already just talking about this stuff, the three of us, and we were like, well, why don't we just like do this? Because like we like talking about it. So
we didn't start this to get famous.
I mean, well, that too. Yeah, that too. We started to get famous. But I wanted to ask this question. This one's maybe I bet you're going to give a very intense answer to this, and it's okay with it. The name Dreamer. I haven't seen you like address it. I mean, I'm 99% sure that's not your real name, but why did you choose that name? And is there a story behind it, or is there like how do you define what that name Dreamer means to you?
Yeah. So there is a story. There's like two stories. There's when I decided it and kind of what it turned into. When I decided it, I had no idea that DFK would go where it has. I had no idea I would be blessed with the opportunity to contribute to the level that I have. So what it's turned into is different initially. Initially, I grew up as a kid on Maui, and there was a band called Olivia. It was like a Christian rock band.
Nice.
And in one of their songs, they're in the opening, they're like doing the big opening and everything. And they talk about, we are the dreamer of dreams. And I always like looked at life and challenges and everything. I came from pretty humble beginning. It was like me and my single mom who then remarried, and we didn't have a lot of money or opportunity. Went to probably one of the worst public schools in the country, and from there I was able to do some things. Got off the island, got educated, worked for a respectable bank, and traveled a bit. So I really believe like our capacity for doing incredible things in this life is a lot larger than we realize or give ourselves credit. And that all starts up here. So the dreaming aspect really came from like Dreamer of Dreams. So my email actually, like Fox was like, you have to, create a new email that doesn't touch anything. We're all like, nobody knows who we are. My real name's Abram, by the way. We're all doxed. You guys know that. But I'm like, all right. So my whole thing was Dreamer of Dreams. And then when I joined Slack, like Professor Tango and everybody else were just like giving me crap. Like I'm the I forget what we call it. I'm the Tango of Tangos. And everybody like started making But at that point, I was like working with Flu, getting up to speed on Web3 in general, working on relationships, risk, from the financial perspective. I really didn't know exactly where I was going to help. I just knew I wanted to help any way I could. That then grew to, being a lot more involved with relationships, and then high level vision, and then leadership and strategy. And it came down to like my main value add to the team. Like the remaining team today, I think pretty much everybody is really essential to either what we're building or where we need to go. And they all bring something different. A lot of us have like over a decade of experience that qualifies us for that. But I feel like one thing that, lets me stand out is my capacity to look at what we have, look at what's possible and kind of push things to get to that direction. Look at a problem where we're all backed in a corner and down and out, and figure out a way to get out and come back stronger than we were. And that really, the persona of dreamer has helped me personally, because sometimes I feel, maybe insufficient or down and out, or I don't really have anybody else. Everybody's relying on me. And, Abram is just a person, but dreamer, you kind of wear that mantle of, we can figure out anything. If you can dream it, you can do it. And when people believe in that and put power behind that, and you have community behind that, we can make big things happen. So initially it was just like a childhood band, just like something in my mind. It's been kind of motivational. But as we grew, I kind of felt like it was such a good choice of a name that I respond to. I have people that I've known prior to DFK that when we're working, I have a strong rule that you call me Dreamer. Pieface doesn't ever call me Abram when we're working. Sunbear, it's pretty strict. And I stay in that mindset too. So probably a longer answer than you're looking for.
No, I mean, I knew it was going to be like inspirational as fuck, so I love it. Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm probably going to clip that later. Anyways, I said I wouldn't be a fanboy. I'm sorry. Quick note up top, because this was like, in the Defikingdoms world, so I got to ask, any update on the Twitter hack? Is it same status? Like, we're still waiting because, like, it sucks it happened.
What's more like, what's that process been like as far as
right? Yeah, that too.
The process is pretty horrible, and I think Bolon has been living this ever since. Because man, in an industry where we do all of our own marketing, and that main tool is Twitter, to have this be compromised, it really sucks. But at the same time, it doesn't stop us from building. Nobody's assets are exposed. Like the worst of it is, the updates now have to happen in one of our redundant areas, like Kingdom Studios Twitter, or just right there in Discord. So most players probably don't really feel it much. It's frustrating because we have some juicy updates or collaborations or other things that we've geared up to market with others that we can't really do, because it wouldn't make sense for them to market for us and us have a suspended account.
Yeah,
we could try to build Kingdom Studios out. That only has a couple hundred people there. The main thing is to get it back. So I think the most recent update is there was help to suspend the account, pros and cons there. So as you look, you don't see any of their BS posts.
Yeah.
Or people coming in being like saying stupid stuff. Yeah. So that's a pro, and that's I think in the last day development there.
Is it suspended right now?
Yes, I believe so.
Is.
And that just means
I didn't know that.
Pull it up and you can't just see any of the history.
Okay.
You
That's
see
progress.
the main thing. So now they can't really be actively trying to rip anybody off. I think that the link there that is in the profile is still their wrong link. So that's the remaining risk. Now we just got to get access back. So at least we neutralize the threat of people getting ripped off or hurting our reputation and things like that. That was step one, took a while. Now step two is trying to get it back. And I think there are some people that Bolon is connected with that are more connected with Twitter.
Sure. Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes from here. That was the biggest concern on my side, was somebody's going to come, back from vacation. And when it initially happened, everybody's like, code red. But then after a week or so, come back and you're like, oh, cool. What's this? Click, 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 ripped off. That would have really been a horrible thing to hear.
Yeah. No, I think from, at least from your average player, which I like to think we are, that I think we knew it was bad and stayed away and saw the kind of, like, because the link is like spelled wrong, and you know what I mean. I think most people were aware of it, so I don't think. Obviously, it sucks if anyone got lost anything, but
I don't think that we've heard anybody successfully being damaged.
Right, perfect.
Right.
But I mean, it's really interesting. I don't know how much people know, like, how it happened. It wasn't like we had some silly password.
Right.
Like, no, I heard it was a SIM swap. I don't know if that's public knowledge, but
SIM swap, like for a phone.
Yeah, which is one of the most intense ways you can hack someone. I mean,
yeah, like it involved people physically going into the store in Florida, and pretend like. And then when we've seen all the other accounts that have been hit, I think they're all getting hit in the same way. That's the attack vector, is if you can get access to the phone, which who knew how easy it was to get access to phones. So yeah, we'll have to see how we adjust their security there. But I think we had like a super long random password because multiple people logged in and out of it. This was not like anything I think that could have been avoidable. This was really a Twitter and like a phone service.
Well, I will say, and I don't want to talk about this subject very long, but I do want to say a weird silver lining is that Defikingdoms is a target, which means like it's on the radar enough that people care, that they know that there is people paying attention to it. So it's a weird silver lining, but they're hackable. They're a target.
Wait, DFK, SEC, and is it CoinGecko?
All the same.
I think we're all in the same like 24 hours. We got hit with the same thing. I'm just like,
good group to be in.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Let's move into the first subject, which I labeled tokenomics, but this question's not really tokenomics. This question is about heroes. So we talk about heroes on this podcast probably like the most,
more so than anything else, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. So Dreamer, I really wanted to ask you this, and I really want to kind of grill you because I want your opinion. And I know that's it's hard. I want your specific opinion. Do you think there are too many heroes in existence right now?
Too many?
Right.
I'm gonna be careful not to make like
I know
opinions. Do I think there are too many? I don't, because well, it just depends on who you are, right? It's really per account. Too many in existence relative to the player base. It just depends if you have the time of day to utilize your Legion, right? If I have too many amazing like boar hunt teams, it's only a problem if I don't have enough time to go and do them every day, like do the hunts successfully every day. If you're looking at like farming heroes, there are services out there that allow people to farm efficiently and passively, and that is a source of inflation, but it's also a source of hero value. And so I still think that in the bear market, in the pre-mass adoption mindset, it's hard to answer any of these questions because the gameplay isn't even out yet. So majority of that hero population isn't even usable in combat. So once all classes are out, and then we have PvP, and then there's a lot of features coming that cater to different players.
Feel free to just tell us right now.
Well, I mean, for one, Expeditions has been one that's been on the radar for so long that is so complicated, but once done effectively and like correctly, at least according to what we want it to be, which will take time and likely be in phases. The main goal is not only save on gas, but to save on time. So the average player could build a larger group that wants to like do the traditional like play to earn side. We might attract a lot of players that have zero desire to do that at all. And you could end up like 100xing in players that only or in a player base that only really wants playable heroes. Well, right now, if I'm that kind of player, and I'm doing, let's say 10 hunts a day, that's like 30 heroes. So it's not a huge team. We have people with thousands of heroes, right? Yeah. So if you look at the number of heroes from like the gameplay perspective, I feel like there are a lot. But when you look at the number of heroes from summoning, from how to get access to the more advanced and rare things that come from summoning that you can use dark summoning for, the tools out there to allow people to passively earn or at least stack on tokens that they might speculate are worth more in the future. I always want new creative ways to burn, but I don't really think we're at the point where the bloat is like a concerning amount. You could argue that you're preparing for an influx of people or features to fill that in. And that's what we're always planning for, which a lot of the features have come out recently. So as a player and you're kind of stuck in time and you look at it and you're like, man, that number keeps going up and up. Is this a problem? You could either say it's a problem and try to reduce it, or you can plan for further development to cater to large amounts of heroes, which, last year we kind of switched with like the Command Your Legion, Claim Your Legacy. We're trying to plan in for a type of hero to have a Legion, to know that if you're going to be doing all aspects of the game, 30 to 50 heroes isn't going to be enough. So an answer, non-answer, thinking through the different players. If you're coming in to strictly do PvE hunts and then competitively PvP, and all players only are attracted to that and they're not as attracted to some of the crafting or in-game economies or summoning, and a lot of our player base today is attracted to, then I would argue, man, the direction we're going isn't catering to our player base. But
Yeah,
I don't think we have a problem with our build plan that we have.
and so kind of what I heard there too is just tied into like player to hero ratio. It sounds like the teams made a collective effort like over the last 6 months, a year of like expecting each individual player to own more heroes, and sounds like you'll continue to build content around heading in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, long term for sure. Short term, I think people need to be patient because we're focused on the micro play that we haven't really had before. So having classes come out, and I know you're going to ask me probably what classes are coming out, and I'll talk around it, but we're being really cautious around that because, I'm really impressed with Hubert, Magnus, Second Best Dad, Beetle, and Workhorse because, there's a version of this where we could essentially pop out heroes that look different that are just doing the same thing as other heroes. Like if you look at Warrior versus Knight, those could have just been very similar classes. Totally. And they're not at all. We have so many more classes to get to. Yeah. And the next one, people are going to be surprised, I think, with the level of complexity that it adds. And then we're going to realize, just like in like League of Legends or others, sometimes when you add a new hero, it changes the meta in a huge way because there's no other hero like that. I feel like almost every class I've seen in the plans, it requires something to be added to the battle system that changes the meta completely. And I feel like with the next couple, we're going to see that. So with a focus on micro gameplay, you're not really focused on the number. You're focused on what does each do, right? But that's going to feed into like crafting, and that's going to feed into travel and land. Each one of those has a huge potential to impact players with large hero bases in a big way. It's up to the players to kind of realize that potential. But right now, we're definitely focused on the micro. There are big things in the future that will re-affect that macro Legion approach too.
Yeah. Well, I do kind of want to push back on this a little bit. Was that the original roadmap game plan, or did events that happened and as Christian Peter says, the chain that will not be named, did events maybe change how you look at that and how you make those decisions? Because I think perhaps, because of events that happened, the general population, the players have more heroes than maybe you were expecting. Was that kind of an adjustment you guys had to make, or did you foresee at some scenario where like we were at players, even just not even big wallets, but just regular players having close to 1,000 heroes? Like, was that something you foresaw, or was this kind of like an adjustment you had to make because events that happened that I don't want to discuss those events, but like, you know what I mean?
So I'll speak from my perspective, but then I'll speak from a different perspective. This has been evolving every single week and month from the beginning. And the problems are always new. Initially, it was, what do we do with all the interest? How do we keep up? How do we onboard people to output things? How do we manage all these people we onboarded that we don't even know? And we don't even know people's names. How do we deal with the risk? How do we deal with the community? It was just so much. And I feel like we did a pretty dang good job with that short amount of time. Now, the world changed, and no matter what, there was going to be an adjustment. And through that whole time, we were trying to hone in on game. And that was one of the pieces. But if you look at the history, Hubert was there since launch, but had like a slow transition in personal life before he could dedicate what he dedicates now. And that was about 4 months. It was about until December, I think, of that year, until we got like a lot of Hubert. And then at that point, there were so many other things in focus. We're talking about Crystal Veil for redundancy. We're talking about partnerships. We're talking about pets and all these things. And that, there are people trying to pull a lot of different directions. More so than I think we've really admitted on how difficult that was to manage all the excitement. We think the community is excited. Imagine a team of like 80 people at one point with all the mods as well. So with that, there was kind of a bumpy road on the game side. We had a few people that are no longer on the game or no longer on the team that were developing the game kind of in a cave. And that isn't Hubert or anybody that's developing it now, but they're developing a really cool system that was eventually going to feed into combat. But at this time, we were trying to think about how do we solve all of the new people coming in. We talked about like the Scholar comparable program and everything, and there were all these new problems constantly that we had to continue to adjust. So having a long-term vision and progressing in that kind of environment is so hard. The structure back then as well was more like a decentralized collective. So if you look at the evolution of the game, I think at that time, Hubert, I believe, had a vision of what we're building now is what we wanted, but he wasn't necessarily empowered, and the structure wasn't even there to support that kind of stability. There have been other ideas out there that will probably find their way within DFK one day, different types of games that might be more like tower defense or MOBA or other types of games. I hope they find their way into these assets one day. But when we really found the identity of the game we're building now, that happened after everything fell apart. That happened when, some people said, for my own reason, I need to go and do my own thing. Or we said we can no longer pay this amount or pay for a team this big. And we kind of found our OG group. Connecting with Wisdom and Ian, my thing was I'm trying to keep the core critical people here to keep this alive, but let's also get a game going. So let's reach out to somebody. Let's make a partnership and get this going. And they put a lot of the building blocks. Now the foundation we liked, but then the framing we did not like. It did not fit what Hubert saw, I think, all along as the vision. I was just trying to get something to market. Let's get something out there. Let's get it playable. Let's make it simple. Let's make it within 3 months turnaround. And, that kept a lot of people alive and engaged. But when it came down to it, nobody was signed up to make a subpar game. I'm not trying to say they were making one. They did what I asked. With this amount of time, with this amount of budget, can we turn something playable? And instead, that turned into, let's take the foundation. Let's bring it in-house. Let's refactor all of the visual genes to make them actually animated. Let's get all of this into the system. Let's make a system, a turn-based system that's actually fun. This took half a year, after that point. And now the vision is crystal clear. In terms of combat fueling various types of hunts, various types of dungeons, various type of epic monsters that will, or enemies that will likely summon throughout the map, being able to move your heroes from place to place. And as a commander, make difficult choices. Your best team might be very far away from the best opportunity here. So if you mismanaged where you're putting people for your resources on the PvE
I
side,
want that. Yes, that's what I want. That's so much fun to me. Yes.
That is now crystal clear. So combat feeds all of that. And we're starting that with hunts. Once we get the system out, we can start doing PvP, and then you can do tournaments, and now you can do Avalanche versus other chains and guilds. So we need to keep progressing that. Every month we need to have progression in that system. And now it's more clear than it ever has on what we have to do. We just have to do it. But a year ago, it was still, what is this even going to look like? Are people even going to like it? Is it going to be fun? Is it going to work? We don't have that anymore. Now it's, we need to get these reps in while solving all the big picture macro stuff and the chain stuff and everything else. So in my opinion, the vision of the game has changed monthly since I've started. And that could have been because people with stronger visions, maybe at one point were more in power and were less at different points, or funding or whatever. But I think if you look at the game committee, since they've really in the last year come together, I don't think they change. I think it's finalizing and progressing. So does that make sense? Kind of which seat you're sitting in and what problems are coming up?
Well, so yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that you're kind of touching on a key point with the idea of perfecting versus getting things out, right? And the discussion of PvP is something that, I know it's something that's kind of far off. It's something that it's always going to be on top of the community's minds, but the idea of perfection and making sure, like, everything that's been released so far has been so crisp and so great and so much fun to play. Is there a sense of, hey, minimum viable product when it comes to PvP, because you have the community to support it and to enjoy it, even if it's riddled with bugs, right? Because you push it out there. How do you kind of deal with that dynamic of, hey, we want something that's great versus, hey, the community wants something now?
Yeah. We have to weigh the cost of developing that too soon or too late. If we had PvP now and we had 4 classes, I feel like people would enjoy it, but they would all probably be running one of like 3 strategies. If we can hold out for another 8 classes, imagine the potential combinations of skill sets, equipment that is now going to be in there.
Are you asking me to math right now? I can't do that. Yeah.
We don't math on the stream.
Yeah.
Cosmetics and visages and like even community being like
exponential. It's exponential. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if we wait too long on that, like we could be missing out. But so we believe currently that the balance is going to be somewhere around where the basic classes are. And I think more recently, some people have expressed possibly something before that, but we can't think about it now, because at one point we thought, hey, once we get one class out, we could probably pump them out every 2 weeks. No, we can't. It's 2 weeks of testing each. You can't pump them out in 2 weeks. So, and then some classes you have to revamp a whole part of the
codex
combat system and the code base. And then it trickles into like 2 other related classes. So I think that PvP, if I was the only game person, which I'm not at all, but I feel like, in my opinion, once you have the variety that makes it worth the time to delay other PvE and class features for the community to really love it, when that time comes, it's going to be awesome. If we do it now, I think it'd be a little lackluster. If we wait until like full 12-ish classes, that might be too long. So probably somewhere in the middle. The other thing is we're secretly progressing things with duels. There's a lot we've learned about duels. How do we matchmake? How do we do a reward system? How do you have a ranking system? These things a lot of other games don't have fully on chain. And a lot of the technology is informing us on how PvP will work well, what people like, what motivates people. I imagine the first iteration of PvP will likely be similar to duels. If you look at the fastest, like MVP, what could we get out there? Where you're fighting a shadow team. That isn't that hard relative to real time, turn by turn, 2 people putting it in like more of a tournament setting. So I imagine, to manage expectations, we need more classes just to make it so it's worth the time.
Right.
As we have more classes and more strategies, it'll likely be more of like you're fighting an enemy that of somebody else's heroes. That's more of like an AI is my guess. That'd be probably faster. And we're going to try to have some kind of a ranking system similar to that of duels, but that favors more real life gameplay. So it's harder to spam, and have the matchmaking and the reward system follow that. And then you add on top of that tournaments, community run, qualifying factors, whether it's from skins or class type or whatever. And I think that could get really fun. So
I have a million questions. I want to go off on tangents on that, but I Guy, I think you had one, but I do want to move on. We have a lot more topics I want to touch, but
you touched upon like game committees. So like game committee, tokenomics committee, like, do you have kind of like chairs of each of those? How big are each of those committees and teams?
Yeah, I think it'd be really good if we spent some time to share about our corporate governance, because putting on the website and everything, I don't think people realize like how sophisticated the team is at this point. So committees, we have game committee, which Hubert is the chair. And then there are, I believe we have 5 voting members there, and they're people that are most relevant to building the game. So Beetle, who's a game all-star. He's not just the front end guy. Like he's stepped up so much. Magnus, who not only does the difficult contract work, but if you see how the game committee works and people bouncing ideas off each other, all these people have like PhDs and being nerds, playing games, having fun, knowing what works.
Whenever Magnus talks in the AMAs, I'm like, I get nothing. I'm sorry, I get nothing. It just goes right above me every time he talks.
But when he talks about everything too, there's a lot of passion coming out of that.
Oh no,
yeah. But then on the other side of it, he's very, very smart, and I feel like I have never heard him complain about anything. He identifies the problem and gives his solution and asks for other people's ideas. He's like dream to work with. And then second best dad, who he's an artist, but he's also done a lot in building in games and working with professional game teams. And then you have Workhorse, who has done a lot with teams and on the marketing side. So you have pretty much an all-star team just in that committee. And then tokenomics committee, you have another 5 or so voting members. I won't go through every single one, maybe to save time. But on marketing side, marketing efforts are really a combination of like digital assets and design coming from Pieface and team, and like marketing ops, which a lot of other people call it. We call it player engagement, coming from Bolon, more recently Christian Peter, who's been stepping up in a huge way, Zipper, Sashay, and all of our mods and community. That's kind of marketing. So marketing committee is a combination of them, adding myself and Sunbear. Then you have Kingdom Builders Committee, which is our connection of everything that goes into the castle. And you have New Business Group, which is all of our new relationships. So each one of those is meeting either weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. And then we also have board meetings. We have a steering meeting that really drives the vision. So if you put all this on paper and you see how we're working, like you don't just see a release come out.
It seems massive.
There's a lot at play here. And we have to manage risk real time. We do, although we don't talk about price, we have to pay attention to price and make sure that the tokenomics committee is not trying to make price go up. They're trying to add utility and stability to the economy. That's like as much as we can get away with and not feel like we're manipulating anything, right? So each one is a different task. They take a lot of time, a lot of discussion, a lot of online and offline follow-ups. And just, I can't give enough kudos to the team because nobody's getting paid to the level of their sacrifice, in my opinion.
No, that's super interesting. And honestly, if you guys put together something that like showed this in an infographic kind of situation, I'm sure the community would eat it up. So like, I highly recommend putting that out there. I do want to change gears because I feel like we could talk about things within the subject like forever. So I want to bring this up. This is my, like I said, my one criticism question. So I'm nervous to ask this, but the three of us, and again, guys, interrupt me if I'm speaking for you and I shouldn't be, but we're super excited for like the game, and like I fully believe the team you guys have at Kingdom Studios can create this, Web3 asset owned by the players, MMO RPG. Like I am 100% on board and in, and I think you guys can do it. You have the team, you have all the pieces that are in place, and I am super excited, more than excited. Whatever.
I'm sensing a butt. Where's the butt?
Yeah, get to the question.
So when last, I think it was around October, or when you guys announced Mythic Swap, I think I was a little bit frustrated because I felt like that was a priority that was taken away from the game. This is, Kingdom Studios was kind of changing their priorities and creating Mythic Swap and kind of turning assets away from the game development. Now, and you guys have talked about this because I asked a long question during an AMA and you guys gave a very strong response about, team assets not being used towards Mythic Swap. But I do want to bring this up, and I do want to just say, like, I was frustrated, and I think people who are eager, like who are super excited for the game to come out, I could understand maybe frustration of the roadmap being pushed out and new products being added in. So I guess my question is, how do you kind of juggle these priorities, and how do you set the agenda for Kingdom Studios when you know that there are people like us who just want this game so bad and are dying and believe in the team? But also I understand there are other priorities, and Mythic Swap is part of that. And also, no offense to Mythic Swap, it sounds like it's the coolest thing ever. Yeah. So
you're not,
I do kind of want to ask this.
You're good. It's a good question. And if I were to rephrase it, I would say there are people that are very eager for the game to be developed. Why in the world would we add a huge undertaking to delay that? What WTF, Dreamer? Is that right?
I'm not going to say that to you, though. Come on. Yes, but I'm not going to say that to you. Come on.
So the short answer is, if we do Mythic Swap right, it makes it much more likely to deliver the game that you want much faster and higher quality over the next 3 to 5 years. If we keep going at the pace we're going, part of my value add is not only to help us like think of new things and to dream things up and add corporate governance and add stability and to manage risk. Part of it is to keep this alive. It was very hard, not only like difficulty wise, but emotionally. And a lot of people stuck by us as a group because we as a group have expressed our, like privately have expressed our passion and dedication for this. So we kind of feel like we're all in this together kind of a thing, but that doesn't take away real world problems. So there have been times when keeping the team together has been hard on me, and finding funding to be able to make sure people can take care of their families and everything. Looking under the hood and seeing technology and that opportunity of a potential distraction or delay that could pay dividends to the point of having people be able to be paid full hours to take care of their families, to look at our runway, not in the matter of months if X, Y, and Z, years if A, B, C, but now we just need time to build the game. Mythic Swap was one of those like polls out there. We have the technology that if we tap into other groups that aren't interested in our current product, but would be interested in that product, is it worth the cost? I firmly believe it is. However, how much have we gotten done on Mythic Swap since we announced it? We've had consistent progress, probably 1/50th of what I would have liked, but we as a collective group have prioritized DFK. And that should show you the balance. If we do it right, it'll benefit DFK 100%. Nobody would be able to argue against it. If we did it wrong, it could harm it short term and benefit it long term. Hasn't harmed it at all so far. If anything, it's given us more interest and exposure. It's helped us learn a lot more about what, like in terms of doing a raise, how hard it is to raise for a product like DFK after it's been live and through up and downs, and how much easier it is through this route. Also, there's a lot of technologies. Another one just came up today, like our voucher system is something that, you know, potentially is another piece of technology that we could include in an offering to other games and other chains that allow people to, you know, provide a source of revenue for Kingdom Studios to build the game. So the answer I'm giving is probably similar to the one you heard on the AMA, but I guess what I would point to is, let's look at the time that's passed since we announced it. Designs have progressed, mockups have progressed, raising discussions have progressed, backend has progressed, but I don't think any of those has progressed at the cost of DFK development so far, because every time it came down to, well, I could stop Mythic Swap to do this, we'd say, yes, please do. It's very important that we hop on this, or this risk came up. If we would have said behind the scenes, doesn't matter, Mythic Swap is all that matters, let's forego DFK in front of you, I'd feel like I'd have to have a little bit of accountability and be like, yeah, there has been some times, but I can confidently say, even at my own frustration, because I want Mythic Swap to come out sooner rather than later, we've been true to Defikingdoms. And one thing I'll note, you mentioned like it won't affect any developers on DFK. That's not true. We're trying not to impact the core game committee, because as we mentioned, if the game progresses, the stuff on the outside, it can be a little bit more shuffled around. We are essentially tapping into Typical and Fox for the build, and then Pinecone when he has availability. So I'm happy to report that we haven't like jeopardized or cannibalized the product of DFK yet, while still progressing it at a slower pace than I would like, but still progressing it. And we're going to keep on that. If we can secure some kind of Mythic Swap related funding, though, that's when maybe a hire or turning somebody up and seeing those wheels start to roll, where profitability increases and therefore output increases. That's when we can have another discussion down the road, and you'd be like, all right, I see Mythic Swap success and I see the difference in output in DFK. Hopefully we see a correlation there. That's the goal.
Yeah. No, I like that answer a lot, because I think that my more cynical side was thinking, you know, hey, what's going on behind the scenes? how how much are they working on Mythic Squap? We haven't heard much about it, but it sounds like the reason we haven't heard much about it is because the focus has been on DFK, based on what you're saying.
Yeah, that's one piece. The other piece is a lot's been happening in SocialFi and other parts of the space that kind of are bleeding into Mythic Swap's potential. There's also a lot of uncertainty with Clayton. There's big things that we have to fix that we're not going to prioritize something new to that extent where it eats into what we can do. So yeah, the scope is expanded a bit on what we want to do, and that makes it a bigger build, but I think a much more higher potential of catching on and actually being successful. But
I do want to jump in. I think that was a more in-depth answer than the AMAs. You guys are amazing for doing the AMAs, but like it is limited in like time. So I really appreciate you kind of like fleshing that out. And I think, and that makes sense. I guess it's my greedy inner child who just wants to play this game, But also, we only have you for a little amount of time, so I do want to kind of hit like a couple other things. I want to hit this like quickly about Vizzies, not necessarily like about them actually, but kind of about the whole like week of like the announcement to the community talking about it to then the team like changing how they released them. Like, what was your thoughts on that process? And also, I will just say, I think like that's the beauty of Web3, of like being involved with your community. Like this just happened. Like the community, like the team was able to respond to the community. Obviously, shout out to Sticks Intern. Like he was kind of leading that charge. But like, what was your opinion of that whole like, because it was like a week where you guys announced, got feedback from the community, changed it like literally by the next week. What was your thought process during that? And also remember, I want to give like a 3-minute rapid round, so don't go crazy long on that.
And I think I mean we started 5 minutes after. I could go 10 over. So like if there's more that we want to get to, I think 10 or 15 after is going to be okay. And it's my fault because I'm probably answering longer than you want. So I think the question is the release of Vizzies, what our plan was, how we took feedback, adjusted, and came back. How was that process? Well, prior to that, there's a lot of discussions with how cosmetics should look within Defikingdoms. And you guys would be surprised how many what would be perceived as bad ideas I propose to the game committee, to tokenomics, that are rejected. Vizzies, again, from my perspective, it was new, something new we have to solve for. What's all the things we have to get in place to make this happen? But from Hubert's perspective, it's all part of the plan. He wanted this. He wanted, I think he even had the word probably in the back of his head, but he wanted cosmetics to come out at one point. Yeah. And when hunts came out and everybody's eager for gameplay content and we're looking for ways of profitability, the question of cosmetics comes up because it makes it really fun. It also is a low lift item that doesn't require a ton of things to get out there. And the co-marketing opportunity here is huge. We have some co-marketing going on with Karate Combat, and we're going to continue that. The creator Vizzies, which we already have one done, and I don't think we've announced who it is because
that's some alpha. I'm not going to lie.
So part of my idea had nothing to do with cosmetics. I wouldn't even share my idea that was rejected. So I like the way that we went, and this is why we have committees, and this is why no one person on the team makes big decisions. Don't care who you are. I'm not that important. Box isn't that important. Beetle isn't. Hubert isn't. We have committees that are of informed people. It's not like 10, 15 people, making decisions, but I feel like we've gotten pretty good at getting to the right decision. And sometimes we propose what in isolation seem like good ideas and aren't. So we got to the point where we thought cosmetics, good for a chunk of people, good. The ROI on each worth the effort, and maybe even going to justify an additional artist hire, which would push along a lot of the content. If Vizzies work and it's sustainable and we can allocate half of a new hire to ongoing Vizzies and also help with other art needs, imagine, what the output would be on the game, right? So this is like, you have to think long-term. So that we go and launch it. And I think the view was collectively, non-tradable because everything else is already tradable. Let's just make something simple that's fun. And enter Sticks Intern with his whole crusade on why that's a bad decision. I think it's really good to show how we not only like care about the community, but we respect people's views, their opinions, their professional backgrounds. Because this decision wasn't because we didn't want people to trade it. It was around legal and risk. And in this point, somebody spoke up that we know not only loves the game, but is very well informed. So we listened. Now, would we have listened to the same extent for somebody with a different background? I don't know, because we already did discuss why we were doing this and thought we had a good reasoning, and that was challenged. So I think that was on like a Thursday or Friday. I think I was traveling, and we're going into a weekend, and this was already all like months in the making and going to be released. And we started some threads and queued up our lawyers, and I think we acted really nimbly, and even had DMs going with Sticks Intern. And when our lawyers, and we had like multiple scenarios, I think 4 scenarios of like fallbacks of things that wouldn't be what was requested, but would be better than what we were going to deliver. And our lawyers are like, we listened to his logic. We think that because the utility is fully clear up front, these are cosmetic only, no hinting of future value in any way, make them tradable, make them USD pegged. You're fine. We're like, oh, easy win. We're glad that we listened and at least asked. If our lawyers would have said, heck no, we disagree, don't do this, stick to the plan, honestly, like, none of us are lawyers. And if they're going to be representing us, the answer would have been different. So sure. It turned out really great. In my mind, I just knew that we had to do our part. Similar to the random dude that was tweeting me from Harmony that was saying all these things. I wasn't going to just ignore him. And I was like, yeah, I'll go send Steven a message. And I did. And it was read and never responded to. And I reported back, and I was like, not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but I just feel like everybody deserves common decency in this space. And for people that are so invested in the game, if they have a good comment, doesn't matter if we're going to the weekend, doesn't matter how many hours we put into it, we got to take a step back and do a check. And that's what we did. And this time around.
No, France, I do want to say really quick, I'm also an attorney, but do not listen to anything I say. Always listen to Sticks Intern ahead of me. He is a very good, very smart person.
I'm glad we got that in.
He said that we should never include always in any of our comments. So
yes, back. Oh, sorry, keep going.
Sounds legitimate. No, but so going off of Vizzies and Vizzies, and I think they could be, a real boon for King Studios, for everything, right? Do you see a kind of past just the idea of skins for them, the idea of emotes, right? Something Guy Kid mentioned on one of our podcasts a few weeks ago was the idea of, you kill someone, you kill another hero or down another hero, your hero does an emote, right? You have the victory right now. They all do a little emote. Is there a possibility, or is it something you're considering of, making those Vizzies in the future?
Yes, so that has come up before. The general response was, we all like the idea. That's not something we're going to do for a while. Just because dabbling into cosmetics and having, like, I don't think people realize there's going to be new things coming out every couple of weeks.
We've seen it. They turn over quick. Yeah, you got to get on it.
Yeah, and some people are like, wow, they're spending all this time on this. Like, no, actually, it's kind of running itself. Second Miss Dad's working his butt off, being creative and having fun. We're collaborating. Like the creator Vizzies, I know maybe that is alpha. The idea behind that is to work with creators in the space that have an audience that we don't have access to, and collaborate on the design and profit share a little bit on the sell to a reasonable amount for them to market for us for like an entire month and have events with them. And I don't know of a single big name in the space that I've asked to do this with us that has said no. I won't say everybody that said yes, but everybody I know has said yes. Imagine that. Over a year, 12 different influencers going out there for us. And then, depending on the promotional side, that'll come and go on working with people that will put up sponsorships like Karate Combat has been doing. But our own fun is a small piece of it. The later PvP type of fun that will come from guilds and everything of having people, have these at one time limited cosmetics that came out is going to be fun. But from a business perspective, being able to market on a budget, that's really, from my perspective, why I love this model. And why I hope people support it. It's not only us putting out cosmetics to help support the development, but I think that we're going to be able to market in a way that we would have never been able to afford or even want to, because you go and pay an influencer to talk about you X amount of times. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
They know it's paid.
Yeah.
It's a shill. If anything, now they like it less. You go and bring IP together and bring it to life in the game, and they do giveaways and we do AMAs and they do videos on it. And that is living. All the top influencers in the space have a presence in DFK over time. Holy cow. Imagine what that can do for the space and the credibility. So that's why Vizzies are fun. Cosmetics are fun. I always buy skins in all the games I play. A lot of people make fun of me for it.
No, how dare they?
Well, some people, like in the League of, I don't know if you heard of the game called Mobile Legends Bang Bang. It's like one of the first MOBA games that was on a phone. And when I lived in Singapore, I got way into it. And I was like, I would single queue everything. And I got to the Mythic, like the highest ranking playing competitive gamers. And I bought all the stupid, like $100 dumb skins that they rip you off with. And whenever they beat me, they'd be like, "Stupid skinner, go refund your skin." Make fun of me, but it's like I have fun. I can't play a character that I don't think.
I played Teamfight Tactics. I was never very good, but whenever I got beat by someone who had the closing animation for like the kill, I was always like, I'm not even mad right now because that was cool. It was cool. Like cool animation plays when I die and they like cut my head off, and I'm like, that was cool.
Like in Overwatch 2, I would get some rare emote that wasn't even special, because it was rare. I felt special. So when it did it at the end. So I would just say that there's been nobody that has expressed an opinion against emotes. It would come at a time that we have capacity for that. But I do know the implementation isn't actually very hard either. So the sweet spot of that, we'll see when that is.
Yeah.
I would love to see that sometime in the next year, but it really isn't a priority. So it's more, wow, it wouldn't be hard to do X. We now have the resources to do it with a little bit of fluff, and it would be profitable. We could see it sometime in this year, but I imagine they will become fun when we're having PvP.
We just want a gritty, Grimmer. We just want our heroes grittying on people. It's all the rage these days.
So,
all right,
good idea. We'll see where it goes.
Let's
not in focus for a while.
Yeah, let's move to my what I'm calling my alpha fishing rapid fire. All right, are you ready?
I think so.
What is your favorite class?
Favorite class?
Yeah.
Well, for the most part,
again, these are rapid fire, so
for the most part, I answer Bard.
Okay,
that's what it has been previously. But in this game, I don't know how Bard will turn out. So I think I am most attracted to the Dark Knights. Every time I get a Dark Knight summon, I'm stoked about.
Okay, because you've seen something, or
not because I've seen something, but because
have you been doing boar hunts, and what is your best boar hunt team?
I've been doing a lot of boar hunts up until holidays.
Right.
So it's been kind of last 2 or 3 weeks. Haven't been doing as many. I don't know how people go in there without a healer, so I always have a healer.
Agreed.
I have a really cool knight that misses everything.
Yeah.
So like level 10.
They got low dex.
Like 11 dexterity.
Yeah, they got low dex. Yeah.
Dex. And so taunts are worthless. I hate that knight. But I love my warrior, and I whirlwind to the death of me. I don't care how many times.
Really, I never used the build with whirlwind. So
I always open with whirlwind to hit everybody, and then I basic attack. And
all right,
I rarely ever lose with it. But my favorite is warrior, priest, archer.
All right, very good. What are you most looking forward to?
What am I most looking forward to?
Yeah.
And that's a very open-ended question.
I mean, it's the rapid fire round.
I'm most looking forward to a solution for cross-chain gameplay that makes Sarandel great again. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, I love that. I do have a final question, but Franz, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. I was gonna say.
I just feel like, well, all right, fine, go for
I
it.
started messaging these guys on the side. I know we're into the fun rapid fire part. We didn't ask about Clayton because we were starting
Oh, right.
on time.
Yeah.
There was some big news today as far as what their plans might be for the future. I guess my question is, A, did you see that? B, was that something that DFK was aware of ahead of time? And how does that kind of change your perception of Clayton going forward, or how things go?
Yeah, I will be political at this answer. Did we know that they're looking to, for those that are unaware, they're proposing to their validators, the Clayton Foundation, which since their restructure after we partnered with them, which has been frustrating a bit, most, if not all of the decision-making ability goes to their validators. I think actually Harmony is set up like this now too. So there's a team, the foundation, that represents all the stakeholders, but they don't have a lot they can do with in terms of like budget and everything. They're kind of given a plan. They're hired to like do that job. And so we've been working really hard to try to find ways to make Serendale a bit more accessible and to work with the gas and the computation cost limits and the future and incentives and everything, working our butts off all year. And, some things we've been really pleased with how they've collaborated with us, and other things we've needed to exercise a tremendous amount of patience as they go through a structural change and everything. Seeing this news come up, we had no idea. Now, how could we? If they were planning something like this and have NDAs with others, and they were sharing it with people and other people on the chain, and then it gets leaked, they'd be in a lot of trouble. So I don't blame them for not sharing it with us. It's fresh. But also how it works is they propose a vote to the validators. So I think they post this, and then I think a week or two goes by, and then there's a vote. So this isn't a for sure thing. It's a proposal. It did come out of left field from us, but now we're in the process of trying to connect with them, ask them. We have a lot of questions. What do we have to migrate? What is it going to affect? Is it going to what are the benefits of gas or computation costs? All these things that we're focused on, RPCs. Is this a huge benefit for Clayton, or is it a huge headache for builders? We don't know. So we're gathering that information. We did not know that this was in the works, but also it's not even a done deal, right? The foundation can't do anything without their validators voting on it. So just as we proposed something early in the year that was shot down, maybe this will be too. If I was them, I wouldn't put forth a public proposal as the foundation without getting vetting previously. So I would be surprised if that were the case, but yeah, that's what we know right now. We don't know enough to know if this is a good or bad thing yet, but we are prepared to make it as best for DFK as possible, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you kind of elaborating on that a little bit. Kind of a follow-up and something that was discussed a little bit on Christian Peters' stream with Brovia, about a week or two ago, the idea of a third realm, right? And
we're gonna push him for this. All right, fine.
We might be very far out from a third realm. I'm not sitting here asking, is it going to be Solana? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? DFK's gone through a lot with its partners, right? In different ways. Has the experience that you guys have gone through has that changed kind of the way that you look at a future realm, and would another subnet ever come into kind of view, kind of leaning back on the partners that you're more familiar with, like AVAX?
Yeah, so definitely has changed it. Even the most recent bridge hack has adjusted it even further. We're always open to a potential new partner for a third realm. But as I just mentioned before, we need to make sure we're strengthening where we have our foundation. And the last year, we've put a lot of work, and shout out to Sunbear and Strider and Bolon and others, a lot of work with Avalanche. Avalanche Gaming as a product really was new, about a little over a year and a half old. And the last year, they've really stepped up their game. At GDC last year, we got a ticket to go see their booth and saw all these pretty games up there. DFK wasn't there. if you guys saw behind the scene how I can be kind of a jerk sometimes when I'm fighting for us.
No.
And that day I was not a very nice person. I was greatly disappointed, and that marked a really good milestone with the Avalanche Gaming guys, because they always saw us as like a DeFi hybrid. You know, we came in under their DeFi umbrella,
Right.
and they were looking for active gameplay and less activity on blockchain. And we were on the verge of releasing our combat system, and we were so out of sync that this year, you know, we meet every Thursday. You know, we're in sync on what we're doing. They're amazing supporters. They see us as a game. They see the gameplay coming out. It's completely different in their portfolio of games as well. So we're not really competing with a lot there. But the importance of not overextending prior to being strong and where we are is really high. And we are just, I don't feel good about how strong we are over on Clayton. That was a user acquisition, long-term play. And we inherited a lot of instability after that decision was made that nobody could have controlled. And I would really like that to be in a better place before we consider what a third realm would take to execute. Could it be on a subnet? If we were only looking for like business continuity and spreading the load of gas and everything, it's an option, but we miss out a lot on user acquisition, potential funding. You know, Crypto Crow is a big fan of DFK now. He's recently been a convert, and that's been part of our efforts on doing this IFC karate combat thing. And he
and gotta give a shout out Crypto Grady. You know, love him out there. He's always out there making those connections. So
yeah, so as Crypto Crow is interacting with Grady, and then did a tweet, and our community all came in, talking to me, talking to George, talking to Bolon directly. Pretty much everybody from all different directions was like, oh, this is the kind of game you like. Everybody's stepping up. So Grady got him quickly on like a 3 or 4 hour stream or something. Did a great job.
It was actually a short one for him. Those are short ones for him. Yeah.
But so like, you know, Cardano would be a really interesting place to go with somebody that has that strong of a backing. All those potential new players, that compared to another subnet, even with no funding on the table, you have to consider what it means to be in another ecosystem if we can do it successfully. Now, it was successful going to DFK chain. There are a lot of things that was a success there. I don't think we've seen the success going to Clayton that we wanted from the user acquisition perspective. And we don't control a lot of that. I really want it to become successful, and I would much rather see that successful and then consider a third realm, or at least wherever Serendel is living, before the third realm comes in. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
we're strong in Avalanche. We need to be strong, you know, on Clayton or wherever Serendel is. We're not fully married anywhere, right? For forever, and at that point, we can consider a third realm. Doing it prematurely kind of feels like we're escaping a little bit, and I don't think anybody really likes that feeling.
No, and I don't think anyone in the community expects a third. Yeah, I think we all know like that's part of the expansion, that part of it, but I don't think anyone's expecting it to be, you know, in the near future, or I shouldn't say near future. I don't know near future, but like, you know what I mean. I think everyone's on board with what you're saying.
The third realm
if we got the right partner and the right community and the right offer tomorrow, we would come here and say, how do we make this work to make sure that we plan for the future, we plan for what we have, and I'm confident now that we'd get a solid plan to make it happen, but we're not pushing for it. We've probably gotten 7 offers, maybe 5 offers in the last 7 months.
Hold on. We could do a whole podcast on what you just said.
Let's just roll through all 7.
I want to call it, though. We've already gone over your time, and you've already been very gracious with us. I want to ask one last thing. So, you know, normally we're talking to Bolon, or we've gotten Workhorse a few times, but and my question to them at the end is, what do you have permission to share with us? What alpha did they let you share? But I feel like that's the wrong question to ask you. The question is, what are you willing to share with us? And is there any alpha, any secrets or new classes, anything you think you can give us to here as in the closing moments of the podcast here?
I'd say if you want alpha, get Fox on here.
Wow. Okay.
just because he always spills alpha. I'm the guy that's telling people, you guys, we got to stop dropping things randomly in Discord. We got to like put it on Twitter. We have to start. So I'm like the anti-random alpha guy because it's always an opportunity to market, to get exposure and everything. But also I just want to respect, so many times we've gone into committees and we have a good idea and we can't do it because we've said something differently.
Right. Yeah.
So we've been really cautious because it's fun to talk about things, but when it comes down to doing them, if the talking about it wasn't directly related to the doing it, sometimes it puts us in a bad spot. So what do we have on the horizon for new classes? What I think is exciting is, and I've already hinted to this a little bit, I think when the new couple of classes come out, and somebody put in their monk, is it going to be a monk? Maybe I feel like I can at least say this. I can say it's not going to be monk because I wanted it to be monk when Karate Combat was coming out.
Oh, that would have been cool. Yes, it would have been very
cool. But then a series of reasons why the master plan in Hubert's brain would be disrupted. Became very clear.
I feel like it says adding a big part to the gameplay. That's either thief or wizard in my mind.
Can you eliminate one of those?
Quiet. Let him talk.
Eliminate one.
I can
it's
eliminate
clearly
one.
Not.
So Bolon is not okay. So he's almost caught up.
We'll boot him. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, we can kick him out. Don't worry about that.
If I eliminate one, you can't ask.
We won't assume the other one is the one.
That's a good point.
Eliminate one.
Yeah.
I'll just say that Wizard was requested to be the next one.
Ooh.
But for mechanic reasons and for things going into all of this, I do not believe it is going to end up being the next one. So I think we can eliminate that one.
Interesting.
Guys, thief confirmed. You heard here on Bogside chat.
Don't do that. He's never going to come back now. He's never going to come back.
We're going to go into a meeting. People are going to be like, no, Dreamer, you had it wrong. The one we've been working on for months.
Well, okay, all right. Sorry. All right. Oh, man, I know we're going to sign off soon, but how mad is Hubert going to be if you accidentally revealed one? Like what would you have to deal with Hubert the next day?
Well, Fox has accidentally revealed like everything, so I feel like I'd be fine. Fox is so funny. She gets so excited about it, and when he talks on AMAs, I don't think he's in the mindset of like press conference. I think he's in the mindset of like, I'm talking to my friends that this is why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
But what's the point? Well, we'll just say anything.
Yeah.
I can do anything. So that's why I joked around about the, roasting Fox a little bit, just because
we'll do it.
He looks at AMAs and everything as like, I'm so excited to talk about this stuff. Whereas, in my mind, we're trying to be a little bit more strategic with it and not end up getting in trouble. Hopefully I didn't get in trouble. Bolon's in the comments. He hasn't said about in trouble yet.
Bolon might have seen it, but Hubert doesn't watch our show, so you're good there. You won't know. We're cool.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. Dreamer, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, and we went a little longer than we thought. So I really appreciate you coming here and talking to us. The floor is yours. Anything you want to shout out, or did you have the date on the Karate Combat? Because we can promote that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
the floor is yours. Say whatever you want here.
Sure. Tentative date for Karate Combat's February 23rd. Awesome. We'll see how that goes. I have to lose about 15 pounds and figure out how to not get my face hurt or other things hurt. We'll see how that goes. So check that out. Please continue to support not only doing stuff like this. Like, this is awesome when you guys put out content and people coming in can see it. Hopefully you feel supported, being represented in the game and in other ways. If there's more things we can do, please speak out. It's too bad it's taken this long for me to connect with you, but I hope to come back and invite others as well. On the Vizzies front, those are coming out. They're limited each time, and then they're kind of, put out there for secondary market. And I do feel like for those that like to change up their gameplay and get these, like, share them, enjoy them. Send Second Best Dad some kudos. Send marketing team some kudos because that is at least going to be a constant pipeline of content and fun. And each major feature that comes out, that just kind of overlays on top of it. So hopefully that's being enjoyed and we have your support there. And lastly, we got a lot of big features that are not going to be short, like turn around features. So just be patient with us. We have more things to keep us busy with the hunts. And I think we shared that the second hunt is going into testing. I'm seeing
Yes.
nods. And I think
Yes.
we shared a spreadsheet.
Yeah, the
So if
spreadsheet
you
is
haven't
live,
seen that,
and
go check
everybody
out
has access to that. So, yep.
even if you don't care and you're just like, when it comes out, I'll play it, check out the spreadsheet to just get a sense of how much goes into the developing, testing, and deploying of a feature like this.
I was gonna say, I agree with you, but also this is not the right crowd. We all care very much, actually.
Yeah. So, or even sharing it with others.
Right.
Because,
there you go. They're very good.
it, you know, yeah, there was a comment made like we are focused on high quality things to come out. And sometimes that could be viewed as maybe taking too long. I will proudly be later on something that rocks every time. And I just ask that you guys be patient with us. Patience is the primary thing we need from our community after trust. And I hope we built a fair amount of trust in the bear market. Ongoing patience and support is that next piece there. So there have been some people that I've planned to meet up with and haven't, or haven't been able to respond to quickly and everything. So I'm always asking for people to be patient with me, but for us as a team, just know that we're constantly working and putting stuff out there, and it might deviate from expectations, but there's a lot of corporate governance behind making those decisions. They're not just willy-nilly, and we're trying our best. So appreciate you guys, and let's see what we can do in 2024.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. So, France, Sky, last comments.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, Dreamer, thank you very much. And in 8 minutes, Sir Worm is going live,
Right.
with Wowie live on stream. So I know you haven't gotten enough DFK content. You need some more. Luckily, we're not at a shortage of DFK podcasts, so another one coming up right after this.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dreamer. Really appreciate it, man.
All right. This has been an episode of Bogside Chats for Franz and for Guy Kid. And thank you so much to our guest, Dreamer. My name is Matty Pesk. We will see you guys next week.
See y'all.
Love you guys.